Do you think this education system is encouraging them to feel, to sign up to identity politics, to feel that they are either oppressed or oppressors themselves?
Well, certainly I've heard terrible stories about what's going on at a very early age in schools. Children are coming home and saying to their parents that they're teaching that black people are good and white people are bad, and that the black people had their babies stolen by white people. And of course, this is going to definitely change the way people think about themselves as they grow up. And I think a lot of non-Aboriginal Australians are being told that they're oppressors, and they're being told that they should be ashamed of what people did over 250 years ago that they weren't even related to. So, this identity politics is divisive in society, and it certainly affects the way the individual sees themselves in society. It's
just going to create more and more and bigger cohorts of Greens voters. What's the ultimate outcome of this? I mean, it's very, very difficult to be optimistic about the outcomes of this, isn't it?
Well, look, until something changes, until we scrap the national curriculum altogether and parents take control of education again, I can't see how we're going to suddenly reverse this situation. I mean, we're already seeing that there was a recent YouGov poll that the Australian ran about the voice to Parliament, and the majority of voters, 64% of 18 to 24-year-olds, said that they would vote for the voice. And that is totally understandable because, look, if I went through the education system at the hands of today's teachers, I would be also voting for the voice because I know no better.
Well, just as they're not taught to appreciate the free and prosperous country they're living in, they're also taught that our industrialised nation is cooking the planet to the point of inhabitability, when in fact the opposite is true, because industrial development leads to a cleaner environment and longer, happier lives for citizens. I can guess your answer, but are they being taught that too, Bella?
Look, they're being taught that this terrible environmental determinism thing, which is pretty crazy. It's sort of this idea that that our self-worth is based on how well we look after the environment. In terms of climate change, it's taught as pretty much undisputed fact, and I'm not surprised now that we've got Greens voters, coming out of the school system thinking that the Greens are the only ones who can save the planet from this climate apocalypse. It's pretty diabolical.
Well, I mean, this show, I've focused on the sort of pernicious global forces that seem to be at work in Australia at the moment. Where did the authors of this curriculum get all these ideas from?
Well, you say globalist. That's interesting because actually one of the things that I also noted in the curriculum is that there's a focus on the children as global citizens as opposed to Australian citizens. So that is tied up very closely with the United Nations. So I was actually quite surprised at the amount of times I spotted information taken directly from the United Nations. In terms of the sustainability, in terms of the Indigenous rights stuff. It's all just cut and pasted. And, I just think, well, did anyone vote for this? Do parents know this is happening? And another point is, of course, it alienates Australian children from Australia because their loyalties are now going to be with this sort of, whatever this globalist world is, which they probably don't understand any better than you and I do. But look, it's really going to be messing with their heads.
Before they know it, they'll own nothing and they will be told to be happy. Bella, what's your advice to parents?
My advice is, if you can, sit down and read the curriculum. Ask your children every day when they get home from school what they're being taught. And if anything sounds like critical race theory, if they're being taught anything that you and I have talked about this evening, go to the school, talk to the teachers, and definitely talk to the principal and say, I don't want my child learning this.